John Lemus, welcome back to the right place. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a few things going on. We're in an election year in November. We got some primaries going on right now. We have some people running locally. I just interviewed Peter Hernandez, running for the Hollister School Board, and we got Mark Starritt that's running for assembly. We have a gentleman called James Thies that's running for the Board of Equalization. We have some local people running. Uh, Take notice of what's going on in your own community. Vote, for one thing. When you vote, make sure you're informed. You know, the last few years, let's say the last 8 years or so, 6 years to say, we had a bunch of uninformed voters or misinformed. And how's that working out for us? Not very well. We get a scandal about once a month, scandals that our president doesn't know anything about until he hears it on the news. We have deficits reaching $20 trillion. So I don't know where we're going, but we're going there pretty fast, wherever it is. Uh, like the man said, we're completely lost, but we're making really good time. So let's pay attention to what's going on. We can't afford to have another election that people are not paying attention to, that we elect people that have agendas, that we elect people that have agendas that don't do any good for our country, we, that we elect politicians that are worried more about getting reelected than they are taking care of the people in their own county or their own state or their own country. You need to pay attention to what's going on. There's a lot of things going on in this country that are not very good right now. Unemployment's very high. You know, you can't believe the unemployment figures. They're probably more around 12 to 18%. There's a lot of people that have stopped looking for work. They're not counted. You know, we have deficits that are high in almost every county and every state. If you really want to know what's going on, look at the governors that are run by Republicans versus the ones that are run by Democrats. 90% of the ones that are run by Republicans are doing well. The Democrats, with their liberal agendas, are in budget deficits. We can't afford this. Pay attention, please, of what's going on. I'm excited that it looks like we may take, nationally, we may take the Senate back, which would be a very good thing, and we may pick up a few seats in the House. I'm excited about that. So be involved, pay attention, and don't go and vote unless you know what you're voting for. Uh, if you see a candidate that you think is good, research that candidate. Find out what he's all about. Find out, and not only what he's going to do for you, but what he can do for everyone else in the country in general. You know, too many times people look at a candidate as what he can do. What is he going to do for me? You know, just me. What is he going to do for me? No, can he do for our city, our state, our county, our federal government? That's what you got to look for. Please go out and vote. Pay attention to what's going on in your own community and your own country. Listen, God bless America and God bless you, and we'll see you next time. My name is John Lemus. Welcome to the right place. I'm here with Peter Hernandez, and he's running for the Hollister School District. Peter, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having
I
me,
know
John.
you're a busy man, and taking time out is a good thing. Let me ask you a question. First of all, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself. You're married? Do you have kids? I mean, family man?
I'm married to my beautiful wife, Karina Hernandez. Um, been married 6 years now. We just had a baby, 5-week old. I have an 18-year-old and 17-year-old. I know it's a big generation gap,
Huge.
but we're all about family. So I'm born and raised in San Benito County. Um, I love Hollister. I told my wife that I intend on being buried here, and that's no
Wow.
joke.
Wow.
So that's I'm second generation Hispanic in this country.
Wow. Listen, you know, what you're trying to do here is going to take time out of your busy schedule. And why would you want to get involved in this?
It's been a while, honestly, John. I've had a strong conviction to be involved in my local community. I actually started off with probation, um, you know, Christian home, so it was on my heart for me to go and volunteer. So by God's conviction, I walked up to local probation, I knocked on their window and said, I'm ready to serve. And that's honestly the truth. So when it came down to it, they gave me the opportunity. I learned a lot, and I knew I can't complain about the issues in my community unless I'm involved in those issues, right? And that's been about 6 years now, and ever since then, I've been involved in other things with the Republican Central Committee and also School Site Council. So I have a very vested interest, not only as a family man, but as a citizen of this community.
Well, I'm glad to know that you were working with probation and you weren't on probation.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good thing. So normally when someone decides to do what you're doing right now, which is running for the school board,
Mm-hmm.
they have a purpose. Either there's something at the school board that doesn't seem right, or they want to improve something, or in other words, maybe they have a little agenda. Do you have something that maybe the top 3 things or top 2 things that you'd like to correct?
Well, one is parent involvement. So yes, I do have an agenda. I mean, I do care about, I care about the kids, and I know through probation I've learned a lot. And one of the things is parent involvement is really key in not only avoiding getting involved, in the wrong things, in crime, but also directing them right onto the right path. So it takes a lot of involvement, which usually the issues that I've seen, and with the kids that I've mentored even, I've seen the issues arise because of that lack of involvement. And to me, that parent is key, not only in, like I said, in avoiding crime, but in when it comes to the educational process. And I've heard this from many teachers because I've sat down with different leaders in the community, asking them these very questions.
Well, what's your thought process in trying to get that done?
So obviously making myself really accessible to the community, sitting down with parents. I know one of my thoughts is actually to do sit downs like at Mars Hill and have, I don't know how many PTAs are all in the community. I'm still learning. But as I've learned, I really would like to encourage PTAs because I think that's going to be a huge critical point to get that parent involvement. And then who knows from there, right? Because it's not so much for me to lead the parents, but more to lead the conversation. Because I think if I get them at least considering ways to better the education of their own children and how they can be involved and know that their voice matters, then in that sense, I think I can be really effective at making a difference.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate your effort, and I think you're on the right track here. I really, really appreciate people that want to get involved. Every time I have one of these shows, I ask people, please get involved in your local community, whether it be county, state. There's very little we can do as far as the state and federal, but we can make a difference in our own community.
Amen.
Anyway, I wish you a lot of luck. As you know, I'm going to be a supporter of yours, and God bless you for coming in and letting us know what you're going to do.
Thank you for your opportunity, John.
We're going to be right back.
Good afternoon again. Got Mark Starritt here today. Mark is running for the 30th Assembly District for the state of California. He'll be representing San Benito County and some of the surrounding areas around San Benito County. Mark, what are you getting into? Why do you want to do this?
I've asked myself that question also, and I think it comes down to there's always has to be an alternative opinion for people to vote on, and that's kind of why I decided to get involved. I don't like the direction that our state government has gone in for many years. Being someone that's been in business virtually my entire adult life, I recognize the importance of a nice, solid, stable economy. We're currently dealing with situations where the government is regulations and stuff like that. We're losing businesses and things like that. So it's my the reason I ran is I felt no one else was willing to take the effort, the time to go and challenge the incumbent. And so that's primarily why I'm sitting here today.
Well, it's even harder. You mentioned you're running against an incumbent. It's even harder in that situation. That I've noticed the incumbent has been very busy with some of the laws he's passed, raising the minimum wage, gender-neutral families, and these type of things. What are your position on, say, gender-neutral families?
Well, I believe that a long time ago somebody took a dibs on what the word marriage meant. All right, and it's a matter of I have a lot of friends that are gay people, and I think they want to do a union. That's fabulous. I have no problems with that at all. But the word marriage has been established for thousands of years, and it has a special meaning, and I don't think we can all of a sudden step in and legislate and change that. All right, but it doesn't have anything to do with other people's right to live their life the way they want to live it. I'm happy and I embrace that.
All righty. That's a good answer. That's kind of the way I feel.
Well,
I have some alternate lifestyle relatives,
Sure.
if you will.
Yes.
And that so it made me a little more tolerant
no,
since I have relatives.
Sure.
And that appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mentioned a minimum wage a moment ago, and you had mentioned regulations in businesses.
Sure.
Could you elaborate on those?
Well, minimum wage, I mean, most of us have all worked for minimum wage at one time or another in our lifetime, and I don't want anybody to have to work for minimum wage. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But it is how you get your foot in the door and go to work. It's a lot of early jobs that pay the minimum wage are primarily to teach you how to be responsible, how to get to work on time, how to follow directions, how to learn, and really put yourself out there so your employer recognizes the fact that you are really a viable, useful person to him. And when they recognize that, they're going to pay you more. I mean, that's if you got a good employee, you have to pay that employee to keep them. And so I think minimum wage is it's what you do when you have no other ideas on how to promote jobs. It's kind of like, I'm going to pass this law and it's going to make me look really good with constituents and things like that. But it's because you don't have any ideas. Certain people in general that are behind this have never employed people. They have never created jobs. In my business, I've created thousands of jobs over the years. And I'll tell you what, guys will start off, people will start off with at the minimum salary, but the good ones move up quickly, and we want that for everybody. My son just took a job. He's in college still, right? And I was kind of curious. I said, "Are you getting minimum wage? Are you a minimum wage employee now?" And he goes, "Well, during the training period, they started me at minimum wage, and now they've moved me off of that." And he'll continue. I mean, it's a part-time job going to school, and he's working there during the summer. So but he's learning things. I mean, he used to work for us in the summers too, and stuff like that. And so he knows what a dictator I can be as far as running the jobs and things. But it's how you get in the door and go to work. If that becomes your lifestyle of living on minimum wage, then that's unfortunate. But there's other issues there too.
Most probably are.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And the entry level, get your foot in the door. Well, now, if the minimum wage is too high, you run a business. Are you a little more selective when you start?
Oh, you absolutely have to be. And I say pretty much in my business, minimum wage was not much of an issue, but I see it more in the food industries and things like that. But when I, as a kid, was working for minimum wage, I didn't care. I had a job and I was earning money, and that's all it meant to me. I mean, I never thought about the fact that it was minimum wage. It was like, I think I need to work more hours. Of course, you can't do that nowadays.
Yeah.
There's a lot against that, but it's introductory level work,
Yeah.
and to think it's anything more than that is you're just placating. You're just trying to make yourself look good with the public to get votes. That's really what you're doing.
Pretty good. New topic. You had mentioned your business. You had mentioned regulations. Have you ever had a business outside of California, or have you been primarily in California?
Primarily California, yes.
So I was going to ask you how you would compare California with some of your other experiences, but
Well, I have worked up in Montana, and I tell you what, that's a breath of fresh air. I mean, it's almost it's completely different. I worked in Nevada, same thing. I mean, I don't think anybody is regulated as we are in California. Yeah.
well, as an assemblyman, what do you think you could do as a freshman assemblyman representing a 30th Assembly District do with the regulatory climate in California? Even if you think you could slow down the increase in the regulations?
Well, first of all, me alone being the one person out there trying to change things is not going to happen. We have to develop a coalition. And, I think California is ripe for that. Even the people across the aisle, California used to be number one. It still is number one, but it's number one in a different direction now. It's number one in unemployment. It's number one in taxes. It's number one in all the wrong things.
Welfare recipients.
Welfare recipients. So we have to go back and become the correct number one, not the number one we all looked at as being the loser number one, at the back of the line. But I think it starts, one district at a time, and we build and we start changing things. Something like over the last 20 years, there's been like 90,000 new regulations. Almost 4,500 regulations per year. And that's not getting rid of the old regulations, that's just new regulations. And reality is you can regulate everything, and it doesn't change that there are people out there that do things wrong or have bad intentions. The regulations don't do that. What they do is they cripple the people that do things right, and they just cost everybody more money. It's take something simple like a building permit. Okay. When I started in the construction industry, it wasn't unusual. You went down with a 3-page plan, and you walked out of there the same day with a permit, and it was a couple $100 or a couple $1,000s. Today, and people don't seem to realize, and they don't seem to care, even though when they buy a home, they don't realize that there's probably, $120,000, $150,000 in fees tied on it from the time that piece of property becomes a buildable lot until you actually pull the actual building permit. A huge amount of money goes to that. That's why you can go to a state like Texas, and because the materials cost the same, and the labor it may be somewhat less, but not dramatically less. You go to Texas and you go, wow, that's a beautiful house for $200,000. Why are we paying? And I'm talking a similar, home, with $700,000 or $1 million here. And it comes back down to regulation, right? The home was built as good as standards, if not better, same products. It comes back to the regulations.
Okay, now take a deep breath. We're fixing to change topics.
All right.
Education is going to be next.
Yes.
What's your position on education?
Well, the big thing in the news right now is tenure, and that really surprised me. I think it surprised a lot of people that actually passed. Well, a judge ruled on that, and that's going to get it's going to get overturned. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, the whole thing is. I remember as a kid growing up, hearing the word tenure. It was like tenure. Well, so that's 10 years, and then you can't lose your job. No, it's 2 years, and it's crazy. Because let's say you have a teacher that's struggling and might become a good teacher, the administration can't wait. Boom, that person is gone. So tenure can work against you as it could work for you. And for the most part, my wife is a teacher, and I've met a lot of really wonderful teachers and dedicated teachers. But you do have that element out there. And I think as you don't see it so much locally here as you do see it in the big cities. They talk about places like Chicago and things like that where, teachers are absent 20% of the time, things like that, because they can't. All right, it's just there's just you have to be able. Everything is competition is what makes things work. All right, and when you take the competition out of the scenario there, then you wind up dumbing down things and losing the quality of education, and our students deserve the quality education. So I'd like to, I'm a fan of charter schools. I'm a fan of doing what we can do to make education better. And
Charter schools, you mentioned charter schools, being supportive of charter schools. What about school vouchers?
The voucher system, I'm for the voucher system as well, and giving people a choice. And it's like I say, when you give people a choice and you have competition, and I've known some really good schools, and people want to get into them. They'll do anything to get their kid into that school, and that's what you want to see. And then you got the other schools where, the attitude is, and you can't blame it on the teachers because, it's parents being involved, So giving choices is what creates the competition, which creates the better schools. Did I beat that one to death?
You did just fine. So we're going to take a break now.
Good.
And catch your breath. Thank you, Mark.
All right, thank you.
Yes.